Hi everyone, I'm Martin from FEDSA, and today's session is going to be on a project that we've brought out, or that I brought out this past weekend. A lot of blood and sweat and tears went into this. I hope it's going to be good fun for everybody. I'm actually just start screen sharing now, and so took a while for me to build this out, even though like I just had the weekend, but spent the whole weekend on it. Like I've actually bought courses for a bunch of other people before, as well as been a beta tester for a bunch of courses. So I've got experience doing this, but not in such a short time frame to doing everything that I want to do in the way that I've always wanted. So let's get started with that. There's a page that I've dropped in the FEDSA mentoring channel. I'll also just drop it in chat here, just in case you haven't got it. You will be emailed all of this stuff. Like the prep will be happening after the session. So I guess let me just cover that now. But in the meantime, you can open that page and just sort of have a look at it while I'm talking. So you after this session, I've got some final touches to be done, and then after that, you will all be invited to Trello boards, your own independent Trello board, where you will have a whole bunch of tasks set up for you, and then you will need to work out work through the tasks. I try to be very smart about it so that there is just HTML and CSS for all of you. That if you only want to basically do HTML and CSS, then you just need to do that. But then after that, there's sort of hard mode, where we now jump into JavaScript, and I'll show you sort of some clever things about how you can do like dynamic rendering of HTML elements and all of that, and then we'll basically turn into almost like a little shop in a way. So let's get started here. So in that link is the Figma design. I have to admit that I'm not a really great graphic designer or UI designer. Like even I've done graphic design for a really long time, but I have to take my hats off to UI designers. I just don't have the same skills that they do in knowing like how to space things out and all of that. But with that being said, still kind of happy with what I've got here. Okay, so this is Figma. So let's just have a quick talk about Figma. Usually people used to go and design their pages in Photoshop, and then you would actually come in here. Photoshop has sort of got a way to slice up parts of your page. So you would sort of slice up the header, and then you would use the export to export that entire header, and then you would try and design your page using tables to sort of match this layout. But now we don't need to use that anymore. And instead of Photoshop, what we've got now is Figma. And Figma just lets you do sort of basic designing. So you can just easily go and drop like a cube like this, and then you can sort of change the border radius. It's got all the tools that you usually find in HTML and CSS. But then it's also got sort of a really cool prototyping system where I'll go in the top right here, I'm going to click prototype, and basically what it is, for example, is if I had another page here, all you would have to do is click on this button. Actually, let's do this button here. You click on this button and you drag it to another page. And then what happens is that when you click the button, it automatically shows that next page. So you can build out like you can show the flow of how your app works. And it's incredibly quick. I promise you, that's literally all you need to do is just drag this out into another component. One of our next sessions that we'll have for the FEDSA mentoring program, we'll be doing one on Figma. So I'm not going to go too far into that. So here's the two designs that you've got. It's one design, but it's basically there's a mobile variant and then there's going to be a desktop variant. Now, I'll try to be very, very clever with the way this stuff is all structured, that everything can be, you just need to use one class, one component. And I'm going to go through some rules just now. So yeah, they might seem out of place, but I'll have the rule list just now in a moment. One of the rules are going to be that you're not allowed to go and have two different variations of a component. So for example, let's say there's this header at the top here. This must be the exact same HTML and class as this header over here. And then when you're doing media queries, that is where you're changing from this design to this. For this project, we're going to be doing a mobile first design, or your build, mobile first build. And that means that your pages have to start off building a mobile site. So this is how your header must first start off. Then you're going to be designing your header. So once you've got the mobile part right and you've got it all 100%, move your screen size so that it becomes a desktop size, and then change your CSS using media queries to suddenly display like this. So, for example, this one, I don't know if somebody wants to try and take a shot at this very quickly. Let me just, I doubt anybody's going to really want to, but let me just move this to the side. So, for example, over here, if you wanted to go from mobile to desktop, you can see that this could be like a flex container and with these menu links, and that can be in a column, a flex direction column. Then as soon as you get to the desktop variation, you use a media query to change it to flex row. And then you can also have a main flex container on the outside, which has got space between. And that's just going to push this content to the right. So a lot of it is going to be like, let's just say, little riddles in CSS, if you will, that you're going to have to try and solve. The same thing now with this Contessa, this product card. That's the exact same thing as this. You just got to be clever the way that you're going to go and have your media queries. But so one of the rules and one of the challenges is that you can't have, for example, say this on desktop, you would call this card desktop, and then on mobile you would have this one as card mobile, and then you make one disappear and the other one appear using display none or something like that. Like we don't do that. We're going to be clever with our CSS. So let me just jump back to that document and just go over. I'll have them side by side so it's just easier to understand what's going on. Okay, so the rules are, as I mentioned earlier, is that mobile first. So you design this page first. You're going to be doing it as sort of like little sections. And then you're going to be using media queries to change but from your mobile design to your desktop design. Then in the task, I'll show you that in a moment. And then we're also going to be using feature branches, but I'll get to that also. Okay, so let's now have a look at the Trello board that you would be getting. Okay, so this is Trello. If any of you, I didn't want to ask too many questions in the forms. If any of you not used like a Kanban board or an app like Trello, you could just raise your hand or write in the messages or even just speak if you'd like. So I'm going to guess that everybody's got some kind of function. I'm just wondering whether I need to explain what's going on here or not.
Can you just explain a little bit? I think I have used Trello, but very basic.
Yeah, no, please. There's no like wrong answers here. If you don't know something, like always speak up and rather get clued up or get an explanation than sit in the dark regarding something. Like that's far worse than if a person just always sits in the dark. So never feel shy or afraid to ask. Like always try and learn. Okay, so what it is it's a Kanban board. Now the way it usually works is that, let me zoom in a little bit. Usually you got like a to-do section. So these are things that are still to be done. Then let's say I want to move it to doing. And now this is basically a task that is in progress. And then when that is finally finished, you drag it to the done container. So this isn't the only way to use the Kanban board. A Kanban board is basically you've got these columns, but you could very well just have it as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and put what you want to cook for that day. You know, you could use it as meal planning. There's like a million different ways you can use a Kanban board. But the way it usually works with programming is that, well, not programming, but your job as a programmer is you're going to have, this is going to be for arranging your tasks that you need to be doing. So you would usually have like a to-do, or it's, I think it starts with to-do. There's another, I'm trying to remember what we use it at work, like, because this is what it starts off default, but this isn't what usually people use. So then let's say you're going to, in this project, you're going to have to go and do these tasks in an order that you see them here. You don't just get to pick any. So let's just say in the beginning now, you have to start with creating your GitHub repo. So you would take this task and drag it into doing, and then you click on it. And inside here is going to be your task. And with these sort of ones where you might not be familiar with how to do it, I've actually got separate pages where I actually break down everything step by step for you to do. And sorry, that's the wrong link. And I've actually recorded videos for each one. This is linking to the original one, but I've actually merged it now with the FEDSA stuff. So let me actually just see if I can quickly grab that. So I think this is going to be now. Okay, great. So this is now the one that is going to be properly. Like I said, there's just a few things I need to touch up. And I've actually gone and sorry. not sure if it cut out there when it was loading. Okay, so what I've done is I've actually created a video that takes you through everything step by step. In this video, and then these are the same steps, except if you don't want to watch a video. Like, I know some people prefer to watch a video, so they can see exactly what's happening, and some people prefer to just have the steps that they can follow. So this is the same content, just in video format. But so I've got that for each of these. This link is probably also going to be broken. It's going to be updated in a moment. So I'm going to have a video as well for you. So let me first try and finish covering this, then I'll cover the Git stuff. Okay, yeah, so you got your task here, and you do whatever your steps are here, and then you would drag it to done when you finish. Then you get to start your next task, okay? But there's going to be a little bit more to it than that. So let's say we've actually finished all of these. They go to doing and then done. And usually at work, you'd probably see like to do, and then you would see in progress. Then there would probably be like code reviews where people are going to be reviewing your code. So things sitting in a code review thing. Then there's QA. There might be one for QA. There's other people that are going to be testing your thing, your changes to see if it works. And then you might only have finally finished at the end. Okay. So let's say these ones are just the basic steps for getting GitHub and all of that going. Then your real tasks are going to start now. And this is like an actual a work task that would actually happen in the workplace. So you would have this task and you need to start. Usually you get to pick your task or it gets assigned to you, but we're going from top down. So just always take the next one. Don't do them out of order. It's designed specifically to be done in a certain order. Okay, so I would want to start doing this header. Okay, so what you're going to be doing with this is you're going to be creating a feature branch in GitHub. And that is going to be explained to you. It's not in here yet, but I've already got the video and everything that done. There's going to be a video that explains to you how you create a feature branch. So what you're going to do is you will. I wonder if I must just actually. What if I should just emulate this in code, like while we're actually busy speaking here? Okay, so you would go and open your task. Then you'd read the task carefully. This is detailed in all of my notes. So just read task carefully. Then what you're going to do is you're going to create your feature branch. And that is basically, you just go git checkout b and feat for feature, and then the name of your branch. So over here, this feature is called a header. You would have feat header. And that's going to be a GitHub branch. But don't stress at the moment if you don't know what GitHub is or GitHub branches and all of that. Like, it actually goes through all of this in detail, so you know how to follow. But then this video is also going to be another additional video that you can always look at if you do get stuck there. So we will go and check out a feature branch like this. Then we'd go and do all of our code inside it. Code the feature. So that is coding this feature over here. And then lastly, you'd go and push your code. And that's it. So then this task would actually be done, and you would drag it into done. Then you'd start with the next one and do the exact same process like that. So now there's just something else about this that's important to note, is that I've included images here to show you what you're building out. So, for example, I've said feature header, and you can see it's got like a nice header over here. So that when you look at the Figma design, you can immediately know exactly where you are building that element. But there is something you need to be aware of here. These images might be outdated. So don't design based on what the picture is inside the task. You need to go to Figma, and you need to look at what the design is in Figma. Because, and this happens in the workplace like all the time, I promise you, is that a person comes and puts a design in here, like your project manager, and then what happens is that we go into Figma and we're changing Figma around, and things get outdated, but they don't get updated yet because these are not linked dynamically. So I'll even show you, there's an example of this. Don't know why it keeps pushing me over like that. Okay, it's probably because I'm zoomed in. So let's just wait for this to load. I don't know why that's happening like that, but
I'm sorry, Martin.
yes.
When you've got a task in doing, and can you put two tasks in doing? So say, for instance, you, just for argument's sake, you're struggling with the one and you want to go on to the next one and then come back to that one. Can you put two tasks in doing and then later on drag them to done, or does it work that you only drag one to doing first?
No, you can only do one at a time. That's
Okay.
in theory you can, but that's going to be problematic. Like, you shouldn't be working like that. Like, if they give you a task, you need to get that task done. And I tell you where you're going to be having an issue is trying to just think, what can I actually draw on here? I'm just going to take that. Okay, so you're going to have your one task here, which is going to be, let's just say that's the header that you've gone and built. Now, you've checked out a branch for this. So this is actually a branch on GitHub, right? Now, this is only meant to be for your header code. So let's just put a header up here. Then you want to work on the footer task as well. But now you need to check out a footer branch too. And this header code can't be in your footer branch. So then you've got to switch to your footer branch. And then when you want to work on the header, then you need to switch back. So you can do that, but that's gonna just it's gonna lead to a lot of problems.
You're gonna confuse yourself then.
Yeah, it's like you rather in this case, no, I would actually put that as one of the rules that we don't. You need to be going at a task one at a time, the way that it's been done. But I am like I was hesitant of doing this, but the way that I could have structured it is that I could have either told you, look, this is just what you need to do and leave you on your own, and that's the best way to learn. But then the problem is that we've got such a wide range of skill levels that I can't leave the more newer people just throw them in the deep end. That's just going to they're going to become unencouraged. What is it? Discouraged. Sorry, they become discouraged from doing the course. So what I've done is I spoon feed you a lot through this. And then it starts to get to hardcore mode where we go to JavaScript, and there I'm not going to be doing the spoon feeding that much anymore. There's no good in me just showing you how to do all your code. I will say to you, you need to build this container and it needs to have this ID, and then I need you to render these elements in there, and then I'll link to some documentation and you need to figure that out. But for the original course where it's like basically the main beginner course where it goes and it's just these designs without JavaScript, that I pretty much guide you through everything to do that. I'm not going to give you exact values and stuff like that. I'm going to sort of say to you, look, use a flex container and then maybe consider rotating that. But if you do get stuck, I am on Slack and I work really late, doing my own stuff. Not like I'm not saying the company I work for forces me to work late. I just end up doing a lot of development. So in any time of the night, whenever you get stuck, you just send me a message. You can PM me or you can ask inside the FEDSA mentoring channel, and I'll help you as soon as I get to my computer, and that should be in the next 10 to 20 minutes. I should be able to assist you with that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Like the stuff needs to be challenging, but it can't be too hard, you know. And if it's not challenging enough, then you're just not really going to learn. You know, the mind does need sort of like a bit of a battle. Okay, so let me just take any questions that there might be at this point. Anybody have any questions at all?
Yeah, Martin, between the feature branches, once we push it up to GitHub, are we meant to merge it before we go on to the next feature?
Yeah, so you would go and finish that feature, and then you go and you merge that code with GitHub so that it's into the master branch, and then you actually go and pull your code so that you grab all of that updated stuff, and then you start again. So it's just the basic. It's really as simple as ignore the stuff at the top here. It's that we start a task, we have a branch for that task, then we finish that task, and then we start again. Okay, so to try and sort of like, I know a lot of the stuff, like I promise you when I started, I hated Git, just never wanted to work with it. So I know a lot of the stuff, if you're not familiar with it, it's going to be like, it seems like a waste of time on everything. And people don't really explain why we're doing it. So let's actually look at why we're going to be doing something like this. Is that let's imagine there's all of us are working on the same project, and one of you work on a header, and I work on a footer, and someone else works on the banner. And you push your code, but there's bugs in it. Now, if you didn't use like a feature branch and you pushed it as individual commits, so let's just say you had like your one push was just ignoring that stuff at the top here. You push one, and this will just be like added header link. And then you've got all these individual commits that pop in like this. So let's just imagine there was another one. So then you push 2 and it's another commit, and you're just pushing straight to master, right? So you added, or then you removed it because there was something wrong with it, removed header link. Now, at a later stage, we found that all of your code was just garbage or whatever, and we need to toss it. And we're going to redo it or whatever, It just said it was my code. I just did such a bad job. If it was one main feature branch like this, we can just go and revert your entire branch. So that entire branch is gone. So if this stuff was contained under a branch, we can remove all of this one shot like that. And then if we want to put it back, one shot it gets put back. So that's why we keep all of our code contained into these branches based on these features. So that even at a later stage, if you needed to change anything in a feature, you can actually check out that feature branch for this header, change that code in the header, and then put it back. And so then everything you've got these isolated sort of modules, the same way that you've got your tasks like this. It's in any questions? Sorry, Matthew?
No, that clears it up. Thanks.
Yeah, so I did sort of expand quite a bit on that. Did anybody else have any other questions? No. Okay, so I think that is a large portion of what we need to be discussing. Let me just check this out, and I've actually did make some notes here. Hold on. Okay, so the only thing that sort of really is how to export an asset in Figma. Okay, so once again, I cover this. I made videos and everything. It's quite busy this weekend. So there's a way that you can go and, like, say you wanted something off Figma, right? This is why, like, whenever I'm like a team lead for projects and that, I'm always pushing for people to use Figma. One of the biggest battles as a front-end developer, and trust me, you will just hate your job, is that they give you this design, but you can't access these pictures. And you will sit there the whole day nagging them, I need these assets. Then eventually you, like me, you start hopping in and you start photoshopping these pictures out and everything. And they don't even thank you for having to go and do all of that. Now, one of the things that Figma does differently is that assets can just be exported. Things like XD, like I'll get given the file, but then they haven't enabled the assets to get downloaded, so you can't use them. So what I'm saying when I say assets, I'm talking about like images, like this picture of this chair or these little icons over here. So you need to use this in your project, right? So how do you actually go about this? It's actually very, very simple. And you'll see there's an export over here. So what you'll do, let's say I want to get this heart. So I'm going to double click. When I first double click, you can see there's the blue outline. I'm actually in this component. Now I want to go further in. So I double click. Now that's a different group. It's called a component there, but I want to go even further in and then double click and then double click. So now I'm right down on the vector. And then you will see the vectors over here on the right, what I'm exporting. So you probably want to see the preview. It's not actually enabled yet. Unfortunately, I can't zoom in here, so I can't show you. Let's do something like this and try and just get a little bit clever. Okay, so that's going to help us. So over here, this 1x, that is the image size you want to export. You might actually want to export, like if you've done, remember in the last session we did responsive design, right? Now, when you've got like an Apple device, you're going to want like 4 times the size of your image. But usually you just want 1 time, so it's a scale of 1 to 1. It's just the exact same size that it is. Then over here, you can change to SVG. Now, this would usually be, I think it's PNG or JPG. And those are raster images. That means that it's just like data, color data that is inside that image, as if like it's just a picture. It's not actually being drawn by mathematics. Where SVG is scalable vector graphics. I guess we haven't actually discussed this before, but basically what it means is that you use a pen tool and your drawings get drawn with mathematics. So you can scale this up to 1 million times as big as you want, literally the size of the world, and it will it won't be compressed or anything of the sort, like it'll pixelate or anything. It'll just always be perfect. Whereas a PNG, for example, like this picture here, like there it's crisp, but as I zoom this in, you can see it's distorting because the computer doesn't know how to replace these pixels. As I'm zooming in, more pixels are created, but the computer doesn't know how to fill it in. And so then you've got it sort of blurry like that. So we can export it with SVG. So let's go back here. And so I'm going to choose, I think it's on PNG or JPG when you first start. So I'm going to change it to SVG, and then I could just export vector. Let me actually make sure it preview so I can see it like that. And then the checkered marks means that it's a transparent background. So export vector, and there you go. Just save it. You probably want to give it a name. So like I would go with something like Archon Heart Outline. So you can see it's the outline. There's later on, if you do the JavaScript portion, we're going to make it so that it folds it in. Okay, so that is exporting SVGs out of Figma. Let me just see if there's anything else. When it comes to trying to build off a design, don't go by these components here. This is so that, like in Figma, what you can do is create a component here, and then I can change. For example, I'm going to change, move this pricing over here. That's not really going to show in that example, is it? No, I've disconnected them. But so you can go and create your components here, then you actually build out your page. So don't go by what you see over here on the left. Make sure that you're going by the design over here. Usually these are pulled out to a separate file. You won't usually see these over here. Designers will pop this somewhere else, and you'll just be given these two designs. And yes, there's some other things here, but they will be in the notes, is that we use two colors here, which is a primary and a secondary. As mentioned in the notes, you're probably going to want to create CSS variables when you're using those. Then at a later stage, if you just go and change the CSS variables, you will actually change the whole theme of your page. And that's sort of just me trying to teach you something clever there as well. Okay. So I think the last thing I can do here is just try and work through one of these tasks again. And then I guess I'll just be open to questions after that. Yeah, so let me just speak about the JavaScript version of the page. I was worried that this is going to be too basic for some of you. So what I've done is I've included sort of a lot of extra work to add JavaScript functionality to this page. If you are very good at JavaScript and all of that, and you've been doing this for a while, then it shouldn't take you much. It shouldn't take you too long to implement all of this. But basically what's going to happen is these items will be pulled from an API. I've already created the API. We've got a node server running that you'll do an API request to go and populate these. And you will need to do it the way that, like I know Matthew's done this before, basically where you need to create HTML elements via code, and then you insert them into a container. And that's exactly the way that React works and Vue works and Angular. They also do the exact same thing, except we're going to be a little bit different with ours. And these items will be generated with JavaScript from that API, and then you'll be able to click load more, and it will map out through further of these items. I think I added 9 in the API, all with images and everything. So these items will be linked via your API. Then you would be able to click check add to cart as well as like it, and there will be a modal that pops up for you to finally check out with the pricing. It's the main sort of challenge with that, or not the main challenge, one of the biggest challenges. I've been in a lot of job interviews. It was like my thing. I just try to get as many job interviews as possible, and I still do now, just because it's another way to be thinking, another sort of, I don't know, another way to be learning. And something I found that they tend to ask people is to build a shopping cart, and the process of adding and removing from that shopping cart. So what I want to do with this project in total is not just give you that work experience exposure from Kanban boards and tasks, but to walk out as a much better you. And then so part of that will be building out this cart, so that if you do ever have an interview opportunity, then where they ask it, you've literally actually done it. And then it's also to do with that is that this should at the end of the day, after everything is done, be quite a good portfolio piece for your CV and your portfolio. Okay, everyone. So that's basically it when it comes to this project. I don't think there's anything I've left out at this stage. The notes, there's a lot of notes regarding all of it. You might not have access to it yet. But so don't worry about it. Don't stress. Like if you just go through things in sort of the order that I've given them to you. Like I even show you how to actually install Git if you're on a Windows computer. So you don't have to stress about any of that. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna have to do now is that we're just gonna have to be focusing on just our normal mentoring sessions like we usually have, unless there's anything related to the project you want to ask.
Everything's good on my side. I think I'll have more questions as I go along.
Okay.
But thanks.
Cool. Are any of you a bit worried that you can't get this done?
No, I'll probably only know how far I get when I actually start tackling the tasks.
Okay.
I shouldn't have a problem with HTML, CSS.
Yeah. The JavaScript, if you're brand new to JavaScript, there might be some new things you're going to need to learn, but I don't think anything's going to be like elite code type of stuff. It's just best practices in the way that people do things now. And are any of you not wanting to do the JavaScript variation?
I haven't officially started with it, so yeah, I'm completely new to it. So I'll check it out, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it. I'll see.
Okay. No, that's understandable. Look, what eventually is going to happen is I'm going to have a video that builds this thing out from scratch all the way to the end, including all the JavaScript. And it's not going to be, I'm not going to argue that it'll be the best way to do it. It's just the way that at this point in time, how I would have done it. So eventually you will be able to know how to sort of do everything. For those of you that are planning on doing, would you like to be seeing testing in this project? It's going to end up adding a lot extra time to it. Like ideally, I'd like to have people done within a week. I don't know if that's a little bit too short. Would you guys like to be seeing JavaScript tests in this project or not?
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. I think it's requested often, but it's not taught very often. So.
Yeah, it might be a bit hectic for the first week to include it, but I think it's very cool because it's like something everybody speaks about testing.
Okay.
Even most corporate code bases aren't tested. But other comment is it looks very, very cool. Like you've done a lot of work and it's like very similar almost to how it looks here at the workplace. It's better than some university courses, the layout you've done. That's cool. Thanks for the effort.
So I expected this to take a lot longer. So is there anything that any of you like want us to cover or like look into? And like otherwise I'm probably just going to cut it short and then make sure that I get all the Trello stuff done. Just to let you sort of know exactly what is remaining here. You should receive all of your invites this evening, but basically what I got to do now is I just got to go and shift these tasks into your own board, and then I'll send you the invite, and then you'll be able to get started.
I'm sorry, Martin. Must I actually create an account on Trello in the meantime? Because I see it's asking me for something about a business class.
No, don't add anything or create anything yet. You'll receive an email that's going to give you the instructions of how to get started and the invitation to Trello. So at this stage, just chill. I'm sorry that I didn't have it done yet. It's like I also had a work day today, unfortunately. I was hoping that with the Euro football, that because our teams are UK based, that I'll be able to have some time to work on this. But no, our project manager's got a strong liver, so we had to work pretty hard. So I wasn't able to get the invitation sent out. As soon as I've created your own board, then I add you to that board, and then basically you get started. So I guess there's something I haven't discussed yet, and that is the support. Like I did mention it earlier, but if you get stuck on anything, Google it and try and see if you can actually find an answer. Like don't just immediately come to me and be, oh man, I just don't know how to do this. If there is something like you don't know how to position something, try and Google it and see if you can find an answer. Like that is the most important skill to have as a developer, is to fix these things on your own by being able to Google and find an answer. And I don't mean like going and just Googling somebody else's answer. I mean Googling to see how does something work, and then eventually maybe Googling how other people do it. But then so that next time when you've got that challenge at the workplace or whatever, your mind will remember, oh, wait a minute, that's what I did at that time. And then basically good developers are basically just many years of them doing that hundreds and thousands of times. So they've already done everything. So You know, that's why they're just good developers. They've just got all that exposure already. But so now, with that all being said, if you are stuck and you can't find an answer, seriously, just come and ask me. Like, I don't want to waste your time too much. So if something's really just got you frustrated, speak to me. We can have a quick one-on-one session. If you don't mind, then I'd actually prefer that I actually share our video with the rest of the group, so maybe it might help them, but that'll be up to your privacy whether you like that or not. But yeah, so if you do get stuck, Douglas, like don't fret about it. Like, you must be having fun at the end of the day. If there's something that you like, it's just you bug it there and you feel like you need to give up or whatever, just speak to me, man. We'll find a way around it.
Okay. I take it it's vanilla JavaScript that we're using for some of the...
Yeah. So it's all vanilla JavaScript, and we're going to create something that's very similar to React. I guess let me just talk about that quickly, so that you sort of have a better understanding. So usually, let's just jump into some code quickly. And if you run into like issues with GitHub, seriously, just speak to me. Like, you will run into problems with Git. Sorry, when I keep saying GitHub, I should just be saying Git. You are going to run into problems with Git. The trick is run into these problems before you add a job, so that you go and you figure out all of these problems now, so that by the time you get to the workplace and you are working for a company that you love working for, you're not going to be making those mistakes there. Okay, so what is this? This is FEDSA. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here is that usually we're going to have, sorry, I haven't got my code in here. So let's just imagine that we had all of our product cards here. We'd have as a list item. So an unordered list. Let me zoom in so that you can see. Okay, so we would have a a product container here. So it'll be, let's just say it's something like product container. Okay, so we'd usually have this product container here, and we would actually be, let's just say this was actually our card information. So it's got like the title, body, description or whatever. Now what we're going to be doing with JavaScript is we don't want this to be statically coded like this. We actually want to be dynamically rendering this. So this product container actually becomes something like a product render. And what we do here is this actually sits completely empty. And we use JavaScript to go and insert elements here. So what we will have here is something like a render function. I'm planning on doing a separate video for this, explaining this. Like, you'll see when the time comes by, because this is like one of the coolest things in JavaScript. Like, to me, it's one of the coolest things. So what we'll have here is a render function, and this render function will draw our elements. Not draw, we just call it like we'll create our elements. So the way that typically works is, let's say we wanted to have just a normal container. We would say something like const container is equal to document. Oh, it's been a while. I think it's .create element. Yeah, so .create element, and then you would put the element here. So let me just explain how this works. Is it's going to create an element. Actually, it's just that. It's really just that basic. This is going to create an element that is a div, just like this. But it's not actually inserted into the DOM yet. It just exists here as like basically in the memory of your JavaScript. So what we would do then is we would find this product render, and we'd use an ID. So you say something like product render element is equal to document dot, oh, it's been a while. So get element by ID, and then we need to put our ID. So product render. There's other ways to do this. You can also do the query selector. So let's just save that. And now I've got this product render element. I've selected it in the DOM here. So I've actually selected it using its ID, and now it exists here sort of in JavaScript code. And then all I have to say is product render element dot append child container. So now what actually happens, let's actually put something inside here. So we would say container dot text content is equal to hello. Now, if you can remember the other lesson, that's why I try and get these things to link. I spoke about how the DOM is an APR, right? We've got, let's get this page to open here. Well, you know, why do we have this document object model? What is the point of it? I mean, did it always exist as HTML in HTML? No, it didn't. we created it, or they created it, because we needed a way to access everything in our document via code. So that's why there's this document selector. No, I can't caps. We've got this document here. That's this document here. And that's why we've got that API, so that we can go and, for example, this document element has got all of these functions available to it through this API, which is basically your document object model. So let's just have a look at what we've actually done here. So what should happen is we're going to, inside of that div that we created, we are going to append these other divs. Append this div that we created. Okay, so it's not working at the moment, so let's just have a look why.
I think your script might have to be at the bottom of body.
I haven't actually run render yet. And then, well, actually you could just, you're right, but we should just be able to defer that. Okay, but yeah, Matt was 100% correct. So let's just go over what that was, and Matthew was 100% correct here, is that I've got my JavaScript loaded over here, right? So what happens is that your head loads first, and it loads all of this stuff. So it loads that, loads this. Then it gets to the script, and it loads the script here. But now what's happening is that this body hasn't actually been created yet. So this doesn't actually exist. So let's just comment this out. This doesn't actually exist yet. And now this JavaScript is trying to access this element, but it doesn't exist. So usually what you would do is, as Matt mentioned there, is you put the script down to the bottom so that when it runs, it's after this element's been created. So it's able to find it. But now there's something else that you can add here, and that's defer. So that defers the loading of your script. That means that it loads it right at the end of your page when it loads. So your HTML will actually render first, then it will actually go and run your script. So this is the same as if you had it at the bottom. So what I'll do is I'll just leave this here, just so that your mind can still take it in, and I'll just take out the defer. Okay. So unfortunately, I haven't really I should have gone and changed the styling a bit better. But so what I've actually done here is I've used, sorry, it's always a challenge trying to work around everything zoomed in so much. So what I've actually done here is created a div, which is called this container. I use document.createElement. Then I set the text content, that is the stuff that's between the div. So let's just say if it was a div like this, this is your text content. It's the stuff inside the middle. And then we append it to that div that we've put here. Now what we can do is we can just keep calling this render function whenever we actually want to go and update it. But so now if you see what's happening here is that whenever I run it, it's actually adding another div container in here. So we don't want that. So what we do is we reset our render, and we basically just go and, sorry, we need to put this at the top here. Okay, that wasn't actually supposed to be there. And just say product render element. So what I actually do here is that whenever this function runs, we want this render div here to basically clear what's ever in the middle here. Then once it's cleared, it's going to redraw the stuff. It's going to sort of add whatever there is in our code here. So I'll explain to you why we're actually doing that in a moment. So now when I save, I could just, each time I run render, it's putting the hello in here. The next time I run it, it goes and clears it and then puts it back in, and clears it and puts it back in. So now you think, oh, that's just kind of stupid. Like, why would you do that? This is actually great. This is going to save. This is just, you're just going to love this way of working before you get to sort of things like the frameworks like React and Vue. If you had a list of items like this, so let's just say items, and there was an array of items, and sorry, we have to just populate it. So imagine you had a list, an array of items like this, and these get rendered into your DOM. Then you wanted like a to-do list, and you needed to click an X to delete one. Traditionally, you would try and go and look for this element in the DOM target it, then delete it. But then there is a whole nother set of nightmares that introduces, and you end up with like it just ends up so unreliable. So what instead we can actually do is, for example, over here, we can map, or let's just say we traverse through our array. We go through our array and we render out each of the items. Then if we want to delete an item off the screen, we just have to actually remove it over here. Then run our render function. So that way, when it goes and loops through them, it only has to loop through 2 of them. It doesn't have to loop through 3 of them. And so you've actually removed that item from the DOM and all of that without having to do that tricky type of, it's the problematic trying to select that actual item to remove it. So we do have some time. So let me just quickly go and give you an example of this. So in React and the other ones, usually you would go and sort of loop through your items and then create a container. So what I will do is I'm going to say for let I is equal to 0, I is less than items.length, and then r++. So just quick one is that this is a for loop. We start with where we want our index to start, which is the r. We want it to start at 0, and we want it to stop when it gets to the last item in this list. So however the length of this is. So the length of this is 2. So it's going to go 0, 1, and then it stops before 2 because we're saying less than. We have 0 index counting in code, so that's why we stop before the 2. But let's not go too much into that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create an item. So I'm just going to say const item is equal to document.createElements. Let's just say div, and then item.textContent is equal to, now what I want to make the text content is I want to make it whatever this title is in here. So I'm going to say items are.title, and then we're going to append r to this container. So container.append child, and let's say item. So does that work? That works. Okay, great. Now check this out. I get like goosebumps over this. I know it's really stupid, but I love it. So I've got these 3 items that are being rendered here as these. Let me just get rid of this. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to with this thing sticking out. Okay. So we've got these 3 items that are getting looped through. And each item we go and we add one. But now, if we just go and delete this middle one here, right? Now, normally we'd have to go and select this div and try and delete it and a whole bunch of stuff. If we just delete this here and rerun our render function, it's gone. It's just gone. You don't have to worry about it. It's like 100%. And so this is what React does. This is what Vue does. This is what Angular does. They do things a little bit differently. Like they will compare what your div was before and what your div is afterwards. So it does stuff like that. But this is basically what React and all of that is doing, is that you're generating your content dynamically like this. Now, what you can then do, another step, is that you can have something like a element creator, so function element creator, or generator maybe, and you just got to say what you want your element to be, so like tag name. And then you can actually just go and return something like return document to create element tag name. So now it's a little bit more dynamic. And you can start adding things maybe like color and all of that to sort of just make this process a lot quicker. But so this is what you're going to end up having to do. And what we would do then is basically, where is that design? We'll be rendering through these items programmatically, like I just showed you now, using the stuff that we get from the endpoint. Oh, there's one more thing that I'd actually like to discuss. Sorry, not actually, because I haven't put in the notes yet. Last one. There's an app I want you to get. You can ask Matt, like I told him, you just got to have this. It's called Postman. Now, Postman is a way to use API calls. You're not necessarily going to be needed in this project because the API is so basic. But this is the big point of this project, is that I want you to learn from this project what you need to be using in the workplace. And one of the things is Postman. So please, you have to get this. I'm like not joking with you. Like even if you're not going to use it in the project, you need to have this installed and signed up. And we will probably be doing a session on it at a later stage. I'm gonna have to just I've got it loaded in so many different places. So what it does is that you test your API calls, but it's got a lot more functionality than that. You can start putting variables in, and you can save your API calls. So if there's a project or something, I can always come back to my collections. Yeah, I've got all these projects. Some of them are like 2 years old. Here's Matt stuff that I helped with Matt the one time. So let's say I'm gonna have to find something here that. No, that server's dead. Sorry, everyone. Just give me a moment. Okay, let me just zoom in at least. Okay, so generally what you do is you create a new. Save that. Sorry. Sorry for this. Okay, so you click plus, and then inside here you can actually go and put your API call. So let's try this one. FEDSA project 1-roku.app /info. Can't remember what the URL is. No. Okay, but so unfortunately I can't remember what the URL is there. So I can't show you how that API call works. Let me just one more try. No, unfortunately not. So I'm just gonna go and grab one of these old ones. Matt, can I use one of yours?
There's one in chat here. I just gave you an API.
Okay. Okay, I've got the one that's.
Oh, there we go.
So this is the one when me and Matt used to chat not so long ago. So what you can do is you can just go and drop your API call in here, and you can select you want to do a GET or a POST request, and then you send it. And then what you can do is you can save it into like a list of different requests here. So then whenever you want to come back to a project, you've actually got these API calls saved in here. I'm not going to have enough time to go into variables, but what you can basically do, I think it's the syntax is like that. I've got them over here maybe. Sorry, it's two of them. So you'll actually be able to use your variables in here so that your production and your development and your testing environment, you can actually have different endpoints. So you can have local host, then in another one in your production, you can have the URL. And then for your testing one, you can have a different, like a netlify address. But this is, you really should have this on your computer. So the way that this usually works is that, let's just say you got an interview question and you're taking a project home. You first get Postman and you open it and you put in the address that you give you and make sure that you get the API working. So for example, yeah, this isn't working. So I know immediately there's a problem. No point in trying to code this in JavaScript if it's not working in Postman. So I think it was posted we've got to search for. So yes, it's endpoint. So now why this is really helpful is that, let's say I go to JavaScript and I start writing my code and the API doesn't work. I immediately know it worked in Postman. So it has to work in JavaScript. That means that I've got a problem in my code and I need to fix that problem. So always, like I promise you, like always test it here first. Make sure it works, and then if it works here, then you go to JavaScript, and then you can start going and building out your API calls. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left. I'm going to hope that people have got some questions. Stop sharing. Okay, so no one's got any questions, so I guess you're all going to be ready to wreck this one or smash it, as they say at my work. It is going to be challenging. I haven't been able to correctly gauge how long this is going to take. Like I'm hoping maybe the HTML part might be a week of your time. If not, then that's fine. I think what the plan is that I don't know if it's going to be next week. I guess I should ask all of you. Would you like next week's session to be that we basically cover building this app out entirely, or would you prefer that I do that as a separate video and next week can be on Postman or whatever?
I would love something on Postman.
Okay. Right, so I think maybe then next week can be, doing something on Postman would be great. This is such, I promise you, like, I'm so close to actually just paying for it just because then I can have more functionality. But these are one of the fundamental web tools you should always have. And you get to sign up so it remembers these, and then on my laptop and my computer, the stuff is synced. So I don't have to redo the stuff between the two devices. Okay, so then next week I'll look at doing a Postman. And I guess we could just do like sort of like an API thing. Postman with a bit of API calls afterwards. Cool. Right, all.
Okay.
Thank you very much for attending, and I wish you the best with this project. It is a little bit challenging, especially the different variations in the designs, and you're not allowed to cheat and use extra classes and all of that. It needs to be done in that one class. So best of luck to that. If any of you sort of have any more personal questions or that you want to discuss it afterwards, just hang around and we can sort that out.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Martin.
Cheers.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.